Yo, what's up? Welcome side to Opening Line. Corey and Benny. Benny is back from doing his civic duties with the New Jersey judiciary system. What's good with you, big dog?
Yeah, have to every 3 years you got to go sit a jury duty. I got the notice. I was really hoping that I was going to log on and have them be like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to show up." But that was not what happened. I logged on Sunday while I was watching football and they told me I had to show up. So luckily I had some people holding it down. Shout out to Rob and Tyler for filling in for me, made sure I got my articles done. I actually had a lot of time sitting around that room doing absolutely nothing all day, Corey. So I did a lot of research, which was good. I got ready for basketball season, which is starting.
Yeah, no doubt. And that got underway last night. We'll get into that. I want to talk about some waiver wire, some possible streamers for this week. Got the two big trades in the NFL. But let's start with, and then we got to look at tonight's basketball slate. But Benny, let's start with last night's basketball slate. The Raptors raise up their championship banner. They get their rings. Then they go out, and in a very good basketball game, they beat the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, they beat the New Orleans Pelicans. I believe the final was, what was the final, Benny? 120 to.
It was overtime, and it was an 8-point game. So maybe 120 to
112,
something like that. Yeah, I think it was an 8-point victory.
Yeah, so they got an 8-point victory. They covered the spread. That was a bad beat for Pelicans backers. But Benny, the Pelicans didn't look bad last night.
No, they hit a lot of shots. That was the thing that I think kind of kept them in the game, especially early. They actually jumped out to like a 10-point lead in the first quarter, which is one thing I love about NBA, Corey, because if you in-game bet, there's always runs on one side of another. So you catch numbers at a good time, and you can get some really good value.
You also get your head taken off that way too.
Oh yeah, I've also been on the wrong side of it and had to just keep getting worse and lost a bunch of in-game bets. But I think the Pelicans actually look good. And remember, they're playing without Zion last night as well. So they're, big offseason number 1 overall pick addition as well. The guys that came over from the Lakers look pretty good. Drew Holiday did not look very good yesterday. I was a little concerned about that. I think he'll get better throughout the year. I mean, he's a very good basketball player. So, hopefully they'll all figure it out. But put it this way, I was pleasantly surprised with the Pelicans. And Toronto just kind of does what Toronto does. They're just a very good overall team. They wear people down, and, that's how they win. I will say one thing I was very happy about, the guy who helped me cash all my lineups on opening night, Pascal Siakam, had a monster game yesterday.
Spicy P, Fred VanVleet getting it done for the Raptors last night as they get the victory on the night that they raised their banners. Right, one quick thing on Zion. A year ago, Zion was YouTube sensation, phenom, great kid, exciting, can't wait to watch him. 1 year later, now that he's a professional athlete, he's a fat piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the narrative on Zion changed so quickly. Quality, everybody loves you, you're great, you get to the pros, you need to lose weight. I'm just like, God damn, I just got here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, listen, one of the things that's going to be a problem with him throughout his career is going to be the injury situation and the injury question. He's a big guy carrying a lot of weight on, basically a small knee joint, and he's already had a couple surgeries on it. I really hope he doesn't turn into Greg Oden. Remember Greg Oden?
Yeah, I don't think it could get that bad. You know what I'm saying, Benny? You knock on wood. Normally these situations don't. Listen, you want to see him out there. Obviously, the NBA definitely wants to see him out there. He's a big draw, a big attraction. But we still got to remember that Zion is 19 years old. And yes, he's a big 19-year-old, but he has a big frame. He's a big dude, but that's still a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. No, my big thing is I don't want them to rush him back.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy that's going to have a long career. Again, like you said, he's 19, so you're going to have him for 10 years if you keep re-signing him and throwing money in, his way. Let him get right before you run him out there, because really the Pelicans aren't winning anything this year, Corey. You know what I'm saying? But you have a good nucleus, a good young team. Keep him until he's ready to go out there and he's going to be able to play and he's not going to get hurt and he's not going to be playing at 75%. Let him heal up, let him rest, let him get to 100%, even if it takes you until next year for that to happen. As much as people really want to see him play, you got to worry about the long-term view with this kid, not just let's get him out there so we can sell some tickets tomorrow,
And last night, in the nightcap of the night, probably the one that we've all been waiting for, since Kawhi and Paul George got to the Clippers, everybody circled their calendar and they said, so, okay, this is the first installment of Clippers versus Lakers. And I tell you what, it did not disappoint last night, Benny. What I will say is this, though. Laker fans are rough, bro. I mean, I saw what Ice Cube tweeted this morning. The Lakers are an embarrassment to the city of L.A. And I'm like, son, it was one game. It was one game. They cannot stand. Laker fans are having a hard time with their nemesis being the Clippers.
Yeah, and you know what? They better get over it because it's not going to change anytime soon. I mean, you won that game last night. You're the Clippers. You won that game last night without Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. You know, I mean, the Lakers didn't have Kuzma, but Paul George is worth more than Kuzma is, in my opinion. So, you know, you lost to them without one of their best players. This Clippers team is legit. I mean, they were very good, a very feisty team last year, and they brought back all the main pieces. And then you added Kawhi Leonard, who helped Toronto get over the hump, and you added Paul George, who's another one of the top players in the NBA on both ends of the floor. I mean, the Clippers are going to be very, very good. The Clippers were projected for more wins than the Lakers were this year by a couple. The Clippers are the team everybody's projecting to win the finals. I think they're the shortest price to win the NBA championship this year. I don't know why people are looking at this as a shock. Like, when I saw the Lakers were a 3-point favorite yesterday, I was all over the Clippers.
Yeah.
That was one of the easiest bets I've ever made. I was like, well, you know, here we go. Like, you know, let's start the season on a good note. So, first two games I cashed. Luckily, with the overtime, I cashed on the Toronto game, and then I cashed on the Clippers last night. So I'm 2 for 2 on the season. So I'm ready for more basketball, baby. Bring it on.
Off to a good start. LeBron James was pitiful last night. He looked lost at times, not to mention the turnovers. Not very efficient night shooting. But, Benny, I'm not going to sit up here and overly criticize LeBron James because the Lakers are 0-1.
You know what? There's a guy on the Clippers named Kawhi Leonard who's a very good defensive player. You're not supposed to have good games against them. Tom Brady didn't have a good game against the Buffalo Bills defense. You know, like, good defense is going to shut down great players. LeBron's still going to have his big games. You know, when LeBron goes and plays the Washington Wizards, he's going to put up like, you know, a 30, 15, and 15 triple-double. You're not going to put up big numbers against Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why people are shocked with this. To me, he was one of the easiest fades on the slate last night.
Because the people want the Laker fans don't mind LeBron having a bad game versus the Wizards. They don't want LeBron to have a bad game versus the Clippers.
Well, it's going to, again, the reason the Clippers got the two guys they got is because they realized they couldn't guard small forwards last year. You know, Kevin Durant was what did him in ultimately in the playoffs last year. So they went out and got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who are arguably the two best guys at guarding small forwards in the entire planet right now. They did it because they have to guard guys like Kevin Durant and LeBron James if they want to get on to the next level. I don't – like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, people are overreacting about LeBron having a bad game last night. LeBron James was being guarded by Kawhi Leonard for big portions of that game last night. He's not going to put up his best game. There will be better days ahead for LeBron James, but like you said, if you're a Lakers fan – and you don't want to see the Clippers win, and you think that if the Lakers aren't as good as the Clippers, it's a travesty. Well, guess what? It's going to be a travesty all year because the Clippers are the best team in the NBA until somebody knocks them off right now.
Clippers get a 10-point victory last night over the Lake Show. We'll get into tonight's slate in a little bit, Benny. I want to talk to you about a couple of players for fantasy football. As we get ready to head up into tomorrow night, you know what I'm saying? We'll get ready to get started and go into week number 3. Week number 8 of the season.
I was going to say, you missed a whole month there.
I wish it was 3, Benny, the way some of my teams are looking right now. Your boy, coming off a bad game, Sam Darnold. A lot of people still saying, you know what, don't let that fool you. He's still got the good schedule coming up.
He does have the good schedule coming up. I'll give him that. At this point, to me, Corey, if you're playing in a 2-quarterback league, you can roster Sam Darnold. I'm not going to argue with you. But is he a top 12 quarterback? I don't think so. You know, there's not going to be, even in some of these good matchups, I'm not going to be excited about putting Sam Darnold out there.
No, I can agree with you on that, but I've seen a lot of cats talking up Sam Darnold. Like I said, I don't think he's a starter in a one quarterback league. If you're streaming him, I think it's wise to be careful with that. What do you think about Matthew Stafford as a starter?
I like Matthew Stafford,
especially this week when they play the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best matchups you can possibly ask for. The Giants secondary has been torched by basically everybody that they've played. I mean, listen, he's got good weapons, right? I mean, Marvin Jones, 4 touchdowns last week.
How about that?
Yeah, Kenny Galladay, that screwed me so bad. I had Galladay a couple times.
You and everybody else, Benny. And the
Yeah.
only funny thing about it was Thursday night on the live stream, we talked about Galladay and we mentioned Marvin Jones, but we wrote him off like, oh, he's nothing. Galladay's the man.
Well, I mean, the reason why we even said that, though, is like Galladay was seeing, consistently like 8, 9, 10 targets a game. Marvin Jones was seeing 5 or 6. For a guy who's seeing 5 or 6 targets a game to go out and catch 4 touchdowns, like that's, that's not something that a lot of people would have predicted or thought was going to happen. A lot of people were expecting it to be a little more split between the two, or even lean a little bit more in Kenny Galladay's direction. So, yeah, I mean, that was definitely something that I got wrong this week. And, we get things wrong sometimes. And, a lot of people apparently got that wrong because Marvin Jones was like under 5% owned in a lot of the tournaments I was in.
Ty Johnson. Yeah, Ty Johnson, J.D. McKissick, Kerryon Johnson, Benny. It's been a disappointment so far his career.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, he's on IR right now, so the guy was obviously hurt. So now we have to look at, what is going to happen moving forward. Also, another reason why I kind of have some interest in Stafford, because you don't know if those other 2 guys are going to be able to carry the load, especially on the ground for him. I mean, Ty Johns was somebody who they expected to be more of like a pass-catching kind of guy. And that's kind of what J.D. McKissick was a little bit when he was in Seattle as well. So we may even see this offense kind of lean a little more pass-heavy, get back to the days of the, 40 pass attempts for Matthew Stafford. If that's the case, moving forward, he's going to have some pretty good numbers coming up. Of those 2 guys, I really want McKissick to get it, but I think they're going to go with Ty Johnson more than they're going to go with McKissick. So if you're looking to pick one of those guys up, I think Johnson is the guy who should be at the top of your waiver priorities.
No, I would agree with you on that. Even though I think McKissick is a nice piece too. I always like the pass catching running back in these situations. Do you think the Lions are a team that would possibly call up the Chiefs and not the Chiefs, call up the Browns and be like, yo, what's up with Kareem Hunt?
I think they would. I mean, I don't know if the Browns would listen. I think what the Browns need more than anything right now is help on their offensive line. So if they're going to do something like that, you got to figure out some way to you got to figure out some way to get a NFL-ready offensive lineman into that Browns team right now, which I don't know if Detroit has one of those on their bench, and I don't know if they want to give up one of their starters. So it might have to be like some kind of 3-team trade, maybe, put in some of these, like a Trent Williams or somebody who's sitting out of tackle. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I think that it would be something they would be interested in. It looks like Kerryon Johnson's going to be out for a while.
Benny, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. What do you think about the Chase Edmonds debacle from this past weekend and the way the Arizona Cardinals kind of trolled the fantasy industry?
So I actually played a little bit of Chase Edmonds this weekend.
Rob told me the other day he played Chase Edmonds too. And I was like, why'd you do that? And you know what Rob said?
I got to change my teams.
Got to take him out my lineup. Yep.
Well, here was, I tell people all the time, like, if you're playing fantasy football seriously, you should have the RotoWire the Roto World player news page open all the time because they do a really good job with the blurbs there. And one of the blurbs that came out, I think it was either Thursday or Friday, was Kingsbury basically saying if the game was today, David Johnson wouldn't play.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I said, listen, even if David Johnson plays this week, it's going to be – now, again, I'm not going to lie to you, Corey. I didn't realize that David Johnson wasn't going to play at all. I played Chase Edmonds because he was kind of cheap, and I figured it would be a 50-50 split. So I said, maybe he can get me a touchdown. If he gets me 4 or 5, 3 or 4 catches, and he gets 50 or 60 yards, at 40-something, 4,500 he was on DraftKings. All right, he gets me to 4X, and, I got upside. I didn't think he was going to run for 3 touchdowns of 20-plus yards and, put up the monster game that he did. Chase Edmonds is a pretty good running back in a very good situation.
Yep.
So, and listen, they just went out and picked up like Alfred Morris or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I think this David Johnson injury is a little more serious than I think people are even realizing right now. So Chase Edmonds, if your waivers haven't run and he is sitting on your waiver wire, you're going to have to put in a sizable bid for him. But I think this is one of those, if I got money left and he's available, I'm blowing my entire fab right now because he could be a difference maker for the rest of the season.
No doubt. I agree with you on that. Chase Edmonds is a player that should be owned in every 12-team league. Is Darrell Henderson a guy that should be owned in every 12-team league?
See, the difference is Gurley's not 100%, but he's still playing. And he's still going to be getting snaps when he's playing. Even if he's not getting 25 or 30 touches like he did last year, if he's still getting the bulk of it, 15 to 20 touches, it doesn't leave a ton left over for Darrell Henderson. So Henderson, to me, is still more of a secondary handcuff kind of guy at the moment. Gurley goes down, he would definitely be somebody that would be a lot more interesting, especially with Malcolm Brown being hurt. But right now, I think there's a lot more value in a Chase Edmunds than there is in a guy who's still in a backup right now behind somebody who is technically still playing, even if he's not healthy.
Throw Benny Snell into that mix. You think Benny Snell comes behind Edmunds, but also ahead of
Henderson.
Henderson, yeah.
I would probably actually put Benny Snell behind Henderson.
Okay.
I think I would rather have Henderson. Jalen Samuels is practicing and is supposed to be, ready to go. I just feel like there are too many people in Pittsburgh, and I think that the Rams offense is better than the Steelers offense. So if I want to take a running back, I want the guy who's got a better chance of being the lead dog in the better offense. So that's why I kind of lean the Henderson way.
Should Kenny Stills be on the waiver wire in 12-team leagues?
No, not at all, especially because of the Will Fuller injury. So, Will Fuller is going to be out for a couple weeks. I think it was a hamstring is what they said. And they said it's a significant hamstring injury where he's going to be out for a couple weeks. We should see Kenny Stills and Kiki Kuti get an uptick right now because both of those guys are going to have to play, basically all the snaps at this point in time. I mean, the two of them are kind of splitting, giving Fuller and Hopkins a little bit of a break, but Fuller and Hopkins are guys that play almost every snap. Now that those guys aren't going to be splitting, you're probably going to see both of them have significant jump in snaps, significant jump in targets, and hopefully that should lead to a significant bump in production for both.
Deshaun Hamilton is a player that is a name that's going to be hot on the waiver wire this week. Emmanuel Sanders traded to San Francisco. That kind of killed some of our Debo love from early in the season as the 49ers now get a true number one. And, we've talked about how great Emmanuel Sanders has been. But now Deshaun Hamilton, that should open up some targets for him, Benny. She should be a guy I think that should be somebody everybody should be looking at as they do their waiver priorities this week.
Yeah, another guy, more snaps, more targets, more production, all in his future now that Emmanuel Sanders is out of town. I don't think it really affects Courtland Sutton as much because Sutton was already kind of getting his, but
Sutton is balling, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him. If he's on your team, you should be happy about it. But Deshaun Hamilton is the guy who should benefit the most from Emmanuel Sanders being shipped out of town.
Benny, would you cut Damian Williams?
No, I wouldn't cut him, but he's not getting into I would be hard-pressed to even use him as a flex if I had two guys on bye this week, Corey.
I agree with you on that.
Especially without Mahomes, because you can't imagine it's going to be better for the running game without a dynamic quarterback that team's got to worry about.
Would you cut Antonio Brown?
I had a Antonio Brown team, and I already cut him a long time ago, to be honest. I'm not sticking around hoping somebody signs him. Listen, if you're in a league with a deep bench and you can afford to leave him around, by all means do it. But we're starting to get into the time of year where we got 4 teams on bye next week, 4 teams on bye the week after that. You're going to need those roster spots to go and pick guys up to be able to just round out a good team right now. So I really don't see why. Even if somebody picks him up right now, by the time he gets up to like full speed, you're looking at least another 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, if your team is in first place and you got just like you got the ability to do it and you're just hoping to hit the lottery ticket and it's okay if you don't, go ahead and keep them. But I mean, if you're struggling, you're trying to make the playoffs, you're 4-4 or something like that, I think you got to get rid of them and pick up somebody that can have a better chance to help impact your team.
All right. Very good. Now, Benny, that is the latest with the NFL roundup. Don't forget, tomorrow night, me and Benny will be on a live stream and really break down the NFL over at Elite Fantasy and start to get you ready for week number 8. Make sure I get that right this time. Speaking of Elite Fantasy, NBA DFS package on sale now. It comes through with everything. I saw with Rad Thad last night. I was reading his article, Benny. His player tonight was Van Fleet. So you know the boys already locked in and rolling, and you got the coverage going down today. Chicago and the Bulls and the Hornets tip off the slate tonight. NBA League Pass is free till next Tuesday, so that'll be pretty cool. If you don't have it, the Bulls are 3-point favorites. The total is 219. I look at the Hornets as a shit roster. Mm-hmm. Can the Bulls cover this number on the road?
They can. I don't like taking road teams that aren't good against other teams.
Yeah.
You know, if you give me a good team on the road against a crappy team, I have no problem taking them and laying the points. I don't want to lay 3 points with the Chicago Bulls on the road. The Bulls project for a few more victories than Charlotte does this year, but not by a wide margin. I think Chicago has more talent. Listen, Charlotte last year relied a lot on Kemba Walker. By the end of the year, Kemba's usage was in the 30-40%, basically on a game-by-game basis. You look at the names on this team that are going to be out there, like Miles Bridges, Nick Batum, Cody Zeller. Like, you know, I think Terry Rozier is a nice player. I think he'll have a good fantasy season because the rest of this team kind of sucks, and there's a big usage hole that needs to be filled with Kemba out of town. But really, I do not think the Charlotte team is good. This Charlotte team might not win 20 games this year, Corey. They're that bad.
Yeah, I think I would like the Bulls on this one too. The 3 on the road might be a little bit tough, but I think the Bulls. I'm gonna give the Bulls a little bit more credit. Like I said, this is early in the season, so you haven't really put eyes on a lot of these teams yet, unless you've been watching preseason. Cleveland and Orlando. One thing I remember about Orlando got real hot in the second half of the season last year. They eventually lost in the playoffs to the Raptors, who hung the banners up last night. But Orlando had some good moments in that series. Tonight they're at home versus the Cavaliers and the first-time NBA coaching John Beilein.
Yeah, I mean, I like Orlando to win.
Favorites.
Yeah, I like Orlando to win the game. I don't know if I want to take the 8 points with them, though. Cleveland did get better from last year. Orlando didn't do anything really that's going to significantly make their team better. They're basically rolling out the same team they had last year. And Cleveland has Kevin Love back now. We could see, from what I'm hearing, Darius Garland, their first round pick, number 4 overall, I think he was this year, is in line to actually start at the point, which could push Colin Sexton to the bench, which I would have no problem with. I've never been a huge Colin Sexton fan. Darius Garland is somebody who is very, very good. He got hurt early last year in college.
Yeah, he would have been in the number 1 pick conversation. Well, Zion had that wrapped up.
Yeah, but put it this way, he was like you said, he's in the conversation at least. I don't think he wouldn't have been the top of the list, but he would have been at least in the conversation. Like, oh, we got to mention this guy as well. The kid can play, so I think Cleveland is a little bit better. Again, I don't want to lay 8 points, but I do expect Orlando to win this game. This is one that I like teasing, Corey.
Okay.
Tease it down to 106. You get tease it down to 4 instead of up to 8. I feel a lot more comfortable if you can get it down there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one too. If you put that in the teaser, that would be probably the best way to go. The Pistons and the Pacers tonight, Benny. This is an interesting one right here because I think the Pistons at this point of the season are a better team than the Pacers.
Not even close.
The Pacers are laying 7.5. Benny, the Oladipo thing. What is the roster? Is Blake playing tonight?
No, and neither. And Markieff Morris might not be either. But honestly, people are sleeping on how good the Indiana Pacers are. Malcolm Brogdon is very, very good. He's the guy who they brought in right now. Jeremy Lamb, who they brought in, is a very good player. TJ Warren, who they brought in, is a very good player. I know that they don't have Oladipo now, and I know that they lost Bogdanovich, but Brogdon, Lamb, and Warren are 3 very good players that they have out there on the perimeter. Domantas Sabonis is a stud. They got rid of Thad Young, so he's going to get his 30 minutes now, which will be good for his production. And Miles Turner is one of the best young centers in the league. This is a very, very talented roster. The other thing is, I think Detroit's just a complete shit show right now. Blake Griffin is not playing. Markieff Morris might not be playing. We could see 30 minutes tonight, for those of you who play fantasy, Thon Macher or Christian Wood, their draft pick. One of those 2 guys is playing, or maybe even both of them are playing 30 minutes tonight, because it's basically the 2 of them and Andre Drummond are the only big guys Detroit has left.
All right, so maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. A 7.5 seems like a lot to me, Benny.
Agree. This is the other game I like to tease. You tease this down to 3.5. You tease Orlando down to 4. You get 2 home teams at 4 points or less against 2 teams that I think are 2 of the crappier teams in the league.
Marquee matchup tonight. The Boston Celtics travel down the highway to Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. These are 2 teams with championship aspirations. 76ers are a 5-point favorite at home. I like the Celtics tonight.
Give me all the Sixers. Give me all the Sixers. All of them. Here's the way I'm looking at it, right? The only guy that really slowed down Joel Embiid on the Celtics last year was Al Horford. And now they're playing together.
Yeah.
The guy who they have as their center is Enes Kanter. The one thing we've always said about Kanter is he plays no defense.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is going to do whatever he wants in this game. Joel Embiid could put up 60 fantasy points tonight, and I wouldn't even be shocked about it. And then you have Al Horford, and then you also have Ben Simmons, and you also have Josh Richardson. You also have Tobias Harris. They have 5 legitimate all-stars on this team as their starting 5. The Celtics lost Kyrie Irving. They added Kemba. To me, I'm just going to consider that a wash. You could argue over which one of them is better, but I mean –
Kemba's probably better for the Celtics than Kyrie was.
Yes, I'd probably agree with that, but I mean, to me, it's not. I'm not going to adjust my projections up or down because of Kemba versus Kyrie. To me, it's like it's basically a lateral move. But they did nothing to replace Al Horford. You know, that's my biggest thing. Is like Enes Kanter is not going to replace what you lost with Al Horford on the defensive end, or even like with the ability to step out and kind of stretch the floor for him. Kanter's a guy that's just going to drop himself down there on the block, and that's pretty much what he does is inside. He rebounds, he makes layups. That's kind of his game. They lost some depth by losing Terry Rozier as well. I just don't think this Celtics team is as good as they were last year, and I think this Philly team is much better. If this game was in Boston and Philly was favored by 5, I would be like, okay, we'll take the Boston side. In Philly, though, I don't think 5 points is enough. I think Philly's going to win this game and kind of send a message to the rest of the East tonight.
Philadelphia, Benny is laying the points with the 76ers. I just picked up my telephone and was on Instagram, and I see my man Boogie boarding the private jet from Signature Flight Support in DeKalb County, and they are making their way down to Miami for Ja Morant's NBA debut tonight versus the Memphis when Memphis goes to take on the Grizzlies when the Grizzlies go down and to take on the Heat. Ja makes his debut. Miami's a 7.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I would expect Miami to win this game, but I will say this for fantasy, you know, Ja Morant projects a lot of the projection systems I'm looking at project him for the most minutes of anybody on the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, somewhere around 33 to 36, depending on where you're looking. His price isn't super high. He's a guy that's going to literally fill up the stat sheet. He's going to score. He's going to get the assist. He's going to grab rebounds. He'll get you some steals and blocks. Super duper athlete. The guy is that good. And he plays on a team that has a big hole in usage with Mike Conley and Gasol no longer on the team right now. And there's a lot of reasons why I think Ja Morant's going to have a big game tonight, even in a tough matchup against Miami. But really, I think this Miami team is better. I think Miami's going to wind up winning this game.
Yeah, I think Miami's a better basketball team. It'd be cool to see Ja tonight, though. The T-Wolves and the Brooklyn Nets. This opened up as Brooklyn laying 5. T-Wolves backers have bet it down to the Wolves catching 3.5. Karl Anthony Towns and the crew come to Brooklyn for Kyrie's debut. I think I'm on the T-Wolves, which was a mistake every time I did it last year. But why not pick it up?
Yeah, I do not trust the T-Wolves. I will say this, though. I think this is a great spot for Karl Anthony Towns. You know, Brooklyn last year gave up a lot of production to centers. They picked up DeAndre Jordan in the offseason to try to solve that problem. But I still think DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen are going to kind of split minutes here. I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't have Minnesota having a very good year. So when they go on the road to face a team like Brooklyn, who I do have with, you know, over a 500 record this year, I think I'd still rather be on the Brooklyn side. It's 3.5 points you said right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down from it was 4.5 when I looked at it this morning. So what are you looking at, FanDuel?
3.5 on FanDuel right now. It's 3.5 on FanDuel.
Interesting. I think I'd still rather be on the Brooklyn side of this though.
The Knicks and the Spurs, do we have to?
I mean, the Spurs probably win this game. I don't think either one of these teams are all that great. The Knicks went out and picked up a bunch of guys that'll keep them in games. Like they're not going to win them, but like, you know, Julius Randle and guys like that, like, you know, Marcus Morris, like these guys are not going to get blown out, but they're not going to win many games. So, I mean, if you want to talk about it, fine. I think the Spurs win this game. It's like 10 points. Is that what they have on FanDuel too?
Yeah, 10. They're laying 10. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's too many points.
The Mavericks and the Wizards, Luka and KP get underway. Mavericks laying 8.5 versus the Wiz. Benny, I think the Wizards are a live dog.
Dude, the Wizards are one of the worst rosters I've ever seen this year. Ish Smith is the starting point guard. Bradley Beal is legit. Bradley Beal is a legit NBA player. I love Bradley Beal. Thomas Bryant is not bad as their center. The rest of this team is garbage. Just straight hot garbage right now. Like you may even get like honestly, I honestly don't even know. the Wizards and the Cavaliers might be two of the worst teams in the league this year. The Wizards might be the team that finishes this year with the worst record.
Interesting. Oklahoma City and Utah. The Oklahoma City Thunder have been gutted. The Utah Jazz, one of the favorites in the Western Conference. Utah laying 9 to open up the season, Benny.
Yeah, I love Utah this year. I mean, you add Mike Conley in there for them. They're going to be this is a really good basketball team. I don't know what to expect from OKC, Corey.
Me neither.
I really don't. I know Rob always has this mantra, MLB motto, our fearless leader, our CEO. Rob doesn't bet on basketball for at least the first 10 days of the season.
Yeah, I know. And it's probably not a bad idea.
No, it really isn't a bad idea because there are certain things that I know and there are certain things that I have no idea about. I have no idea about this OKC team. I don't like the roster very much. You have Chris Paul, who's fine. You have Danilo Gallinari, who's fine. You have Steven Adams, who's fine. They may be starting Andre Roberson tonight, and I don't think he's very good. If he doesn't start, they could go back to Ferguson or something like that. I don't see how this team is going to win basketball games this year. They have one of the biggest negative expectations for the season, meaning the amount of wins they had last year versus what they're projected to win last year. It's 16 or 17 games below what they won last year. And it's not like they were a 60-win team last year either. You know what I mean? So, they're dropping from mid-40s to 30 wins this year. I don't want anything to do with OKC. I don't want to lay 9 points with Utah, though, but I don't think Utah's going to have any problem winning this game.
No, I don't either. Denver and Portland, the other marquee matchup of the night. Trailblazers, 1.5 favorite. We saw these two teams in a great Western Conference semifinal last year that the Trailblazers won in a Game 7 on the road. Today, I think the Nuggets get their revenge. I like the Nuggets tonight.
Yeah, Portland added Hassan Whiteside in the offseason. They lost a bunch of those wing guys, the Mo Harklesses, the Evan Turners, basically everybody who played the wings for them last year. Zach Collins, the young guy. Aminu's gone as well. Zach Collins, who was their young guy last year, is stepping up to a much bigger role this year. He's pretty cheap on some of the sites. But I just think Denver is a little more talented. If this game was in Denver, I would take them easily. I really don't. I'm not somebody who is easily going to bet on a road team. This is probably one of the road teams I'd be willing to take a chance on. If you're going to do it, just take Denver money line because I think it's a 1.5 point spread. I'm not messing with the 1.5 points. I'm not taking minus 110. Take the Denver money line. You probably get plus money, maybe plus 115, plus 120.
It's plus 102.
Is that it? That's all. I think it was plus 115 on DraftKings. So
shop
it around. If you can get plus 110 or better, give up the 1.5 points because if Denver wins, I think they're going to win it easy.
The Kings and the Suns, the final game on the docket of the night. The Kings were a team that showed some improvement last year. A lot of people were excited about them. The Suns were just the Suns. The Kings are 1.5 point favorite. And once again, Benny, I like the Suns.
See, I'll take the Kings in this one. This is one of the few road teams that I will actually take. I just don't trust Phoenix. Okay. I don't think Phoenix is very good. I think Devin Booker is good. I think Phoenix got rid of a couple of their forwards who I actually liked and thought were good players, like a TJ Warren. They picked up Ricky Rubio, but I don't really think that moves the needle much for me. I will say this, if you're playing DFS, this is the game with the highest total on the slate. We know Sacramento likes to get up and down and play pretty fast. I think you're going to have at least 2 or 3 guys in this game put up ridiculous monster stat lines.
All right, there you go right there. Getting you ready for tonight in the NBA. Big piece of chicken, Benny. I got to give it to Juan Soto. He got the job done last night, and the Washington Nationals have a 1-0 lead in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to give my big piece of chicken out to Kawhi Leonard. I mean, again, shut down LeBron James, put up 30 points of his own, and the legacy of the claw just kind of keeps on growing. So, big piece of chicken, Kawhi Leonard.
All right, for my main man, Benny Ricciardi, is Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. The opening line, we are out.